Is there more to midlife than just getting through it? Absolutely. Welcome. I'm your host, Debbie Cunningham, jazz artist turned midlife mentor, and I'm here to say to you loud and clear, it's time for your Midlife Crescendo. Hello, my midlife friends. I hope your entry into March hasn't been too crazy. In like a lion and out like a lamb, so they say. Ours has been actually a tame lion, so I'll take it. My guest today is in finance, and I think you are going to love his story. He is going to tell us why he chose to focus on helping women understand investing and financial planning. And before you tell yourself you don't need this, or your husband takes care of it, or you already have a financial advisor, I'm going to ask you to listen anyway for your own understanding. This is information you don't want to miss, especially in our current world economic situation. I know too many women who have become divorced or widowed in this midlife season and wish they had known more on this subject. It is info we all need, and we never know when we're going to need it. Before we dive in, though, let me ask you a question. Do you ever feel a stirring inside your heart that you were made for more? That you have dreams and goals inside you that you never pursued? Maybe you've always wanted to write a book, start a blog, start a side business from a hobby you love, or reinvent yourself completely. Maybe you're an empty nester and are exploring what you want to do in this next season of life. Do you sometimes feel you're too old to try something new? You are absolutely not, and I have an exciting opportunity for you. On March 26th, I am holding a free masterclass online, and I want you to sign up. 4 keys to launch your dream. In it, I will teach you the 4 key steps I took when I was a stay-at-home mom that helped me become a jazz recording artist, then author, then speaker, and now podcast host after age 40. All of it happened after age 40. The masterclass has several opportunities to listen, and there will be a replay, but you have to go register to get it. Go to debbiecunningham.net/4 keys. That's debbiecunningham.net/4 and the word keys, Keys, to register, and I'll put that link in the show notes. Let me help you finally get those dreams out of your head and off the ground. Okay, now on with the show. Well, hey, everybody. Today on Midlife Crescendo, I have Andrew Winnett with me. He is a certified financial fiduciary and is the founder of Retirement Renegade. He's also an author, speaker, radio host, and a film producer. He serves clients across the country, helping them grow and protect their retirement savings so they never lose a penny due to market volatility. His Retirement Renegade radio show is heard across the U.S. and has been featured in numerous national publications. He is on NBC and CBS every weekend, and you can watch those appearances and more on retirementrenegade.com. He has produced 2 retirement-focused movies called The Baby Boomer Dilemma and The Retirement Deception, and he has written 4 books, and you'll hear more about those in our interview. Outside of work, though, you'll find Andrew investing his time with his 4 kids and lovely wife, Jess, in their home in Franklin, Tennessee. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Debbie. Grateful to be here.
Well, we are happy to have you here. Now, the first thing I always ask my guests is tell us something that's not on your bio.
Okay. So I really enjoy the outdoors. I think that I'm a man of faith, and I believe that God speaks loudly in the outdoors. And so one of the things that I do enjoy doing is taking young men outside, especially young men who don't have fathers. My dad unfortunately passed away at a young age, and I didn't get to enjoy the outdoors as much as I would have liked with my father. And so I do enjoy taking my 4 kids any chance we can outside, whether it's hunting, fishing, camping, on our farm, whatever it might be. And I also like taking other people who I maybe even don't know. I just get so much fulfillment and joy from being outside.
I love that. And today we had like higher temps today in the 60s, and I was so happy to
Oh,
be outside. I'm tired of the cold in Tennessee.
yes. Yes. Yeah. It was it's a nice little respite from the storms that we've had.
Yes, exactly. Well, you've written 4 books, and your most recent one is Her Safe Retirement. And I wanted to have you on the show to talk about that because I'm passionate about helping women be more comfortable in
Yeah.
their financial planning for the future. Can you tell me what inspired you to write the book?
Yeah, absolutely, Debbie. So, the what inspired me to write the book was actually what inspired me to get into this business. I'll tell you that story if it's okay, if you'll
Yes.
lend a couple minutes. So, unfortunately, July 1st, 2009, I would say is probably the worst day of my entire life. It was the day that I got a call from my younger sister of 5 years, and she uttered the words I'll never forget as long as I live. I think Dad's dead. When I heard these words, as you can imagine, I immediately went into shock. How could this happen? How could my dad be dead? Um, he wasn't traveling. He wasn't sick. He didn't have a chronic illness. I had just gone fishing with him 2 weeks before for Father's Day. How could this happen? And I remember as I kind of closed everything up at the local branch, the bank that I was working at, and I made that normally 20-minute drive from Roseville, California to Auburn, California. As I was driving home, I'll never forget it. I just remember thinking to myself in my green Toyota Camry, trying to drive as fast as I could, what am I about to walk into here? And, what if my father wasn't all the way gone? What if he was passing away? What if I had a couple minutes with him? What would I say? What would you say if you had a couple minutes with your father? And so all these thoughts are going through my head. And then I started thinking, okay, well, if my father truly is gone, what is my mom going to do? Because my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom. She hadn't worked in 20 years. Well, she did work. She raised us three crazy hellions,
Right?
just didn't get a paycheck for it. And all of a sudden, allegedly, the primary breadwinner's gone. So what's my mom going to do? And
Mhm.
long story short, I get in, I won't give you the whole version, but basically, my dad did pass away that day. And it was extremely difficult for my family. And we had to spend the next couple of months trying to pick up the pieces as a family. And, being the eldest son, I come from a Jewish background, not by practice, but by ethnicity. But in that culture, I believe in Jesus, by the way. Okay, so
Yes.
just to clear the air, I believe he is the Messiah. But in that culture, the eldest son is responsible for taking care of mom if something happens to pops. And that's exactly what happened. And I came from the financial world. Keep in mind, this is right after the global financial crisis. I think we all hopefully can remember that. I think we all remember the pain of losing 40% of our hard-earned, retirement savings. And to be honest with you, Debbie, I was kind of part of the problem during that season. I was working at Wells Fargo, and I was the guy saying, "Oh, dude, you got to invest in this stock." And we said "dude" and "bro" a lot in California. It just means friend. But I was saying, "Oh, dude, you got to invest in this stock. The stock's going to go to the moon, and there's all these fundamentals that are pointing towards this being huge." And I'm getting my friends and family to invest in it. I'm investing in it. I just believed in it so much. And when the stock market crashed and everybody lost on average about 40%, we didn't lose 40%, Debbie. We lost everything. That stock went to zero. And I felt so ashamed having to look my friends and family in the eyes and say, "I'm so sorry, I was wrong and I lost all your money."
Mhm.
Thank the Lord that I was just starting to dip my toes into that world, and I didn't have a lot of clients or anything like that. I was so grateful that I learned that lesson early. But the guy next to me at Wells Fargo, he was big time and he had a ton of clients. And I got to see firsthand the devastation of good people in their 60s, 70s, 80s coming into this office literally ready to physically fight this advisor because this Yahoo lost 40% of their money, and they knew that they were going to have to go back to work. And again, back in the global financial crisis, unemployment was double digits. It was very challenging to find a job. So these guys are going to probably have to work for minimum wage, standing on their feet for 8 hours a day at Lowe's or Home Depot or Starbucks. Their boss is some purple-haired weirdo with face tattoos and lip rings everywhere. And that's their life now. No more traveling to Europe. No more hanging out with the grandbabies whenever you want. And that's a bummer. And that is such a bummer. So all this is going on in the background with me, and then my dad dies. Well, we did find out, Debbie, that my mom, by the grace of God, did get a life insurance death benefit. And it wasn't millions of dollars. We wish it was, but it wasn't. And so my mom had no idea what to do. She's in total panic mode, stressed out, losing her hair, still raising my younger brother and younger sister at the house. I'm okay. I'm on my own, married, got my own place, climbing the corporate ladder. But what about my mom and brother and sister? So she gets this phone call from her CPA friend at church, and the CPA recommends she goes and sits down with this financial advisor. And this financial advisor came highly recommended, right? And she's going to church, right? So she's hopefully got some morals and some integrity. Well, my mom was vacillating because she didn't know if she should take this money and pay off her $400,000 home, or if she should live on it and have nothing for her future. So she goes and sits down with this financial advisor. This financial advisor runs this little riskalyze test, which is basically a test to see how risk averse are you, what is your risk tolerance, what's your risk appetite. Runs this little test. Oh my gosh, Suzanne, you have a very low risk tolerance. You should only be in 14% equities. The rest should be in fixed income and bonds. And my mom's like, what the heck does that mean? I don't know what you're talking about. You're obviously smart. Okay, that makes sense to me, I guess. And she gives the money over to this financial advisor, and the financial advisor invests it accordingly. Well, fast forward a couple months. I would periodically go visit my mom because I was worried about her. Obviously, we're mourning, we're grieving, super painful season. It really brought us closer as a family, but golly, it was tough. And my mom, in the meantime, had to go get a job. She started working at a sew and vac place because it was the only thing that she had a skill set with, which is sewing. And she's making minimum wage, working almost full time. That's really difficult because she's realizing, wow, I'm not making ends meet here. I'll try to go get a relevant degree. So she starts going to night school. And that's really tough. And she ends up having to have my grandma move in to help make the payments. Well, so I check on her. We'd have dinner together and, cry and just try to, encourage one another and, just trying to move on. Just such a painful time. And I'm over at her house and I get this little spidey sense. I get this like little, call it a Holy Spirit inclination, premonition, whatever you might call it. But I was like, Mom, I want you to go get your statement from your financial advisor. I want to look at it. Mm-hmm. And so after dinner, she goes and gets her statement and she gives it to me, Debbie, and you would not believe it. I'm looking through the statement. Now, keep in mind, I came from this world, so I'm trained. I know what to look for.
Right.
I'm going through and I cannot believe my eyes. Much to my shock, much to my chagrin, I discover that every red cent that she had earned in interest was completely eaten up by advisor fees. And when I saw that, I about hit the roof. No one is, my mom was being taken advantage of. And it made me so angry because this is my mom. Nobody's going to mess with my mom. I'm very protective of her. And so that frustration, that righteous indignation, it set me on a path where I had to discover alternatives. There just had to be a better way. There had to be a way where my mom could participate in market upside. She needed growth, but she'd be insulated from the downside. Right. There had to be a way where she didn't have to pay all these crazy fees. There had to be a way where she could acquire long-term care for about 25% of the normal cost for standalone long-term care insurance. There had to be a way where her income could increase to help offset inflation. She was fully convinced that she would never retire. There had to be a way where I could get her to retire earlier than she thought. There just had to be a better way. And I'm pleased to say I found it. And if you fast forward to today, my mom now makes $70,000 per year. Her money increases every year to help offset inflation. She was able to retire years earlier than she thought. She's, hangs out with our grandbaby. She's right up the road. She travels. She's bought real estate. And here we are 15 years later, and she's finally on the hunt for a new man. And I can tell you, it's been a struggle. I don't know where the good bachelors are, but man, eHarmony, Match.com, it's been a barren wasteland. I think the algorithm's broke because we're getting a bunch of weirdos. Maybe Farmers Only will be better. I don't know.
I've
But
met your mom, and she's delightful. I
she's
adore
amazing.
her.
She
Yeah.
is just the best. But yeah, so that journey, I believe that God works all things together for good. Doesn't mean that all things are good, but God can
Right.
redeem all things. And so he took something like a tragedy in my life and in my mom's life and in my family's life, and he has since turned it into something beautiful and magnificent. And I started the company to really help people like my mom. And that's also why I wrote this book, because unfortunately, these are the stats. 4 out of 5 men will die married. 4 out of 5 women will die single, divorced, or widowed. I don't know what it is, but us guys die early. Whether it's we're eating too much hot chicken, Nashville hot chicken, we're doing backflip gainers off ladders, we're playing hot potato with dynamite. I don't know what it is, but we die early. And when we die early, the women are left holding the bag, and they are the most vulnerable to making mistakes in retirement. I'll give you actually 2 more quick statistics, and I'll pass it back to you. The National Bureau of Economic Research came out with a super frightening statistic back in 2012. And what it was is that for married couples, 46.1% of married couples will run out of money before they run out of life. Now, this is as of 2012. Okay. Things were doing a lot better than right now. However, 57% of single individuals will run out of money before they run out of life. The biggest reason why that is the case is because of Wall Street. Wall Street, in my opinion, is the biggest factor in retirement failure. We'll get into that later, but I want to solve those problems, and we have in many, many, many ways. But the second statistic I'll give you is this is a recent study. Stanford research came out recently and said by 2050, the average lifespan will be a century long. With modern medicine and with AI technology, people are going to be living on out to 100 on average. That means very few people will actually have enough saved to get through until the rest of, their money will not outlive their life. They will run out of money before they run out of life. And that is a problem that is on the horizon. It's already happening now, of course, 1 out of 2. But we're talking a massive existential problem that is coming over the next couple decades. And I'm on a mission. I'm on a righteous crusade to right that wrong. And that's why I wrote the book, Her Safe Retirement. It's 7 strategies for women to retire safely and comfortably.
Well, I was going to ask you to talk about the 7 strategies, but I'm going to shift just a little, since what you just talked about people running out of money. I would say for most people, the number one fear in retirement is running out of money. And so how can you help? How can we manage that risk and make plans so that doesn't happen?
Well, there's the complicated answer, and then there's the easy answer. I'll give you the easy answer first. Okay. There's you need to make sure you never lose money. Warren Buffett, who's one of the wisest and most successful, famous investors of our generation, he said, rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. So don't lose money, in other words. Okay.
Right.
Can you lose money having all of your investments in the market? The answer is absolutely yes. Now, again, there's a time and a place for everything under the sun. There's a time to keep your money invested in the market. When you're going up the mountain of retirement, so just imagine Mount Everest. Now, I didn't know this, Debbie. I know I've shared this with you, but more people die going down Mount Everest than going up. And when I first heard that, I'm like, holy cow, that doesn't make sense, right? But when you're going up, and by the way, have you climbed Mount Everest, Debbie? I mean, are you one of the few?
No.
Okay. Well, if any of your listeners have, I want to talk to them. I have yet to run into somebody who's climbed it, but I can't wait till I do. But when you're going up the mountain, Mount Everest, you're at base camp, you eat your Wheaties that morning, you're excited, you've got your eye on the prize, you're focused, you're energetic, and you get to the top of the mountain, you plant your flag, and this is where all the mistakes happen. This is where you stay up there too long, you take too many selfies, you do a couple too many Instagram stories, and all of a sudden you're getting altitude sickness, you're dizzy, and you make a mistake, you slip on the ice, you slip into a crevasse, whatever, right? You make a mistake, and there's a 4% fatality rate, which is terrible. Well, saving for retirement is very similar to climbing Mount Everest. When you're going up the mountain, these are your accumulation years. These are your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe even into your 60s. And you're saving money, you're kicking butt, you're putting money away, typically in a 401k or a 403b, 457 TSP, or an IRA. And it's almost always invested in the market. And that's okay, because if the market crashes, you're good. You've got a paycheck coming in. You have time to recover and time to recuperate if there's a loss in the market. But once you get towards the top of the mountain, everything changes. And this is where all the mistakes happen. And I often tell people that the Sherpa, quote unquote, or the financial advisor, quote unquote, or the way of investing, quote unquote, that got you up the mountain is rarely the right Sherpa, quote unquote, or financial advisor, quote unquote, or way of investing to get you safely down. Why? Because it takes a different skill set to get down the mountain, the decumulation side of the mountain. With the accumulation side, the investors, the advisors, it's a one-trick pony. Put your money in the market, let it grow. And that is good, but it's often incomplete coming down the mountain because there's a lot more factors that you got to pay attention to. For example, you're going to have something called required minimum distribution, required minimum, distributions, required minimum withdrawals. We call them withdrawals because it's less jargony, but it is technically distributions, RMDs. RMDs. So once you turn 73, any money that you haven't paid taxes on, the government is going to force you to take withdrawals on that. Now, if it's in the market and the market's down 20%, guess what? You just realized the loss. And this is how people are running out of money before they run out of life. What about Roth conversions? What about guaranteed income planning? What about long-term care planning? What about estate planning, right? Having a trust. All of those things the typical financial advisor doesn't do. They don't do the tax planning. They don't do the income planning. They don't talk about Social Security getting cut by 1/3 in 2033. They don't talk about any of that stuff. They just put your money in mutual funds or stocks or bonds, and they grow it and charge you a fee. And that's fine going up the mountain. But going down the mountain takes a different skill set. So that's a very long-winded answer. But the point is that if your listeners are cresting towards the top of the mountain and maybe already in the decumulation side, they're going down, don't lose money. Don't lose money. And then, to add just one quick little gold nugget on the more complex answer, okay? Because the simple answer is don't lose money. And people may ask, well, how the heck do you find a product where you can have decent growth and not lose money? Well, that's where we can help you. But the more technical response that I would say is that you need to have a way for you to have an income, okay? We approach the puzzle of retirement with a solution of income rather than trying to figure out what is the lump sum that I need to have saved. And I can get into that if you'd like, but just to make that super simple for your listeners, most advisors will say you need to have first it was $1 million. Well, then $1 million wasn't enough. Then it was 1.5. Well, then inflation, spiked through the roof. Now it's 2 million. And then Charles Schwab or Vanguard recently says 2.8. You're like, holy cow, how much do I have to have saved, right? I mean, it seems impossible. I don't have $1 million saved, or I don't have 2 million or 3 million. We look at it completely different. The better question to ask yourself is, how much do you need to cover your monthly bills? So if your bills are $5,000, okay, great. Have you factored in fund money? Have you factored in travel? Have you factored in benevolence or gifts or donations? Yes, okay, that's an extra $1,000 a month. So you need $6,000 a month. If we can provide $6,000 a month that increases with inflation, you're going to win the game of retirement. And by the way, I'll end it here. With our strategy, you need 40% less invested than you would with the safe withdrawal rate having a lump sum. Again, 50% failure rate. So these advisors, I mean, it's unbelievable how it's like baseball. All of a sudden, you're batting 500 and you're considered a hero. I don't look at it like that. You lose, if half of your clients are going to run out of money before they run out of life and die on a Medicaid bed, all alone, destitute, being taken care of by the government, that is not success. We have a 100% success ratio and track record, and it's because we approach it the exact opposite way. That's why we're renegades. We're fighting for your financial security, and we're doing it in the exact opposite way that Wall Street's doing it.
Excellent. You talk a little bit in the book about income being queen.
Yes.
And would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So income, like I said, in my movie, my second movie, The Retirement Deception, which we will give everybody access to at the end of this, we're going to provide a bunch of resources for you guys for free. But in my movie, my second movie, we didn't have any actors. We didn't pay anybody anything. And Brett, who's a dear friend of mine, I actually co-wrote a book with him, my second book, which is called Crash Proof Wealth. He basically traveled all around the country and interviewed good people, didn't tell them what to say, didn't pay them. Hey, how did you get the retirement of your dreams? And you know what? Every single person said, the ones that had the best retirement had a steady stream of income coming in that they couldn't outlive. And so, in fact, Time Magazine did a study, and this is over in Europe, where depression is through the roof, right? They interviewed all these people, and they found that the people who were the most happy, the most joy-filled, the one that had exuberance and full life thriving, they just were beaming with joy and glowing, and they just were excited about life. They had the number one common denominator was they had a steady stream of income that they couldn't outlive. And conversely, the ones that were depressed, disconcerted, discontented, frustrated, joyless, sad, angry, bitter, depressed, all those people, they didn't know if they were going to run out of money or not. They were stressed out about finances. And here's one other crazy statistic. There was another survey that was done. I think it was by Gallup, or it may have been Barna. I forgot. It's in the book. But they found that people who had a steady stream of income on average lived 20% longer in retirement, which equated to 3.6 years. Wow. So if you want to live longer, you got to have financial security. It's that simple, right? Mm-hmm. So not only are we making sure you're never going to run out of money in retirement, we're actually helping you live longer. And that's why income is not king, income is queen. Because the queens are going to live longer than the kings. Let me tell you.
This is correct.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
So you better behave yourself.
Yes, indeed.
Well, where can my audience find you online?
Okay, so all those resources that I explained, we got 3 books. We got the Joseph Strategy, we've got Her Safe Retirement, and we also have Escape to Tennessee. The pros and cons of retiring in Tennessee. My Tennessee counterparts are not very happy with me writing it because it's a bunch of immigration in this area. But those 3 books, as well as the Retirement Deception movie, can all be found at nomorelosingmoney.com. nomorelosingmoney.com. You can also book an appointment with me, 15-minute complimentary call. I'll answer any questions you have. nomorelosingmoney.com. And then if you want to check out my website, you can go to retirementrenegade.com. You can see all my radio shows, my TV shows. You can find my YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that, retirementrenegade.com. But I would for sure go to nomorelosingmoney.com first, because those are a bunch of free resources that we have.
Great. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us today, and also for all the resources you're giving the audience. I appreciate you, Andrew, and thanks for serving my audience today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Debbie.
Well, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of our conversation with Andrew Winnett. He has such a heart to help women, and men too, not lose their hard-earned cash in the market. Be sure to check out his website, retirementrenegade.com, and also for free resources, nomorelosingmoney.com. He has posted there several of his books, including Her Safe Retirement, which is his brand new book for you to download for free. Next week on the podcast, Andrew will be back for part 2 of our conversation. Ladies, Andrew gives so much applicable information next week. It is like a masterclass in retirement planning, so be sure to subscribe where you listen so you don't miss this one. Lastly, don't forget to register for my free masterclass coming up March 26th, 4 Keys to Launch Your Dream. Even if you are just beginning to think about trying something new, but you don't even know what you want to do yet, register for the class and help yourself get started on all those possibilities. Link is in the show notes, or go to debbiecunningham.net/4keys. Thanks for tuning in today, and remember, midlife is just a brand new season to find your passion and purpose for your grand finale. Talk next week.